Good morning and a warm welcome to you all. I, Ms. Shishma Kindalkar, is your host for today. We continue with our Satguru Sangh Meet 124th virtual webinar. The topic for today is Rules Governing Statement of MS Certification on Products, taken by Mr. Anil Johri. The key points that he shall be covering are businesses flaunting ISO 9001, ISO 22000, certifications on product and product packaging, rules for making such statements, provisions in ISO 17021, what is allowed and what is not, followed by question and answer session. Agenda for today, virtual inauguration by Dr. Sundar Kataria, invoking the blessings of deity, introduction of the speaker, presentation by Mr. Anil Johri, question and answer session, and at the last, the closing session. About Dr. Sundar Kataria, he's a chairman and managing director for ICS and its group companies. Satguru Sangh, conceived and led by Dr. Sundar Kataria, driven with a mission to elevate the quality, safety, and environmental awareness levels of industry. Satguru Sangh is a series of educative, informative events aiming to illuminate professionals on possible solutions to current issues of industry and economy. He has done doctorate into business management, mechanical engineering. Experience is into Rajasthan Atomic Power Project, India's first nuclear power plant RAPP at Rawat Bhata, quota built by Indian engineers. Worked as nuclear scientist for 11 years and successfully completed and commissioned the plant. Engineers India Limited, first batch of engineers to develop Bombay High offshore oil and gas fields, mega offshore complex platform.
Your voice is gone. You are muted. Again, you are muted.
He experience worked at Rajasthan Atomic Power Project, India's first nuclear power plant RAPP at Rawat Bhata. The awards that he has received is Lifetime Achievement Award for the contribution of the corrosion technologies from NACE International by NEDIS under NACE, and also work social worker, protection of life, asset, environmental and safety. Now I request Dr. Sundar Kataria to virtually inaugurate today's session.
शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
Please join us for the recitation of Gayatri Mantra. introduction of the keynote speaker, Mr. Anil Johri. He is the former CEO for National Accreditation Board for Certification Bodies, NABCB. He has done MTech IIT Kanpur. 43 plus years of experience in the field of quality, standards, certification and accreditation. Having worked earlier in the Bureau of Indian Standards, the National Standards Body and the Export Inspection Council. Post-retirement engaged by number of accreditation bodies, especially for capacity building like ANAB, UAF, ASI, SLAB, OZAC, Uzbekistan. Has been IAF and APAC evaluator. Has been resourced for international bodies like WTO, UNFCCC, UINDO, PTB, FAO, ISEAL, and EPO. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you
Over
very
to you, sir.
Good morning. It's my turn to speak now.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Let me start by thanking Mr. Sundar Kataria and Sumit and ICS for inviting me to this webinar and giving me an opportunity to speak to you all. I'm especially, appreciative of the fact that ICS is running this webinar, Saturday webinars. I keep receiving invitations on my WhatsApp inbox for several months now. I think more than a couple of years. Somebody might tell us how many webinars they have done. If somebody has a figure, which is actually very, very commendable, because my experience of all certification bodies are that they're too busy in auditing and looking for clients and making money, trying to make money. Somebody will say it's not such a lucrative business, so fine. And social service is less done. So that's very commendable on part of ICS. My compliments to ICS. This is a topic which I got interested in over last few months. You can say I've been observing that we get products where claims of certification are made, which I realize were not as per the standard. And I also realized with the informal discussion that the understanding of the requirement of the standard also itself is not very clear among people. So I sort of was pushing people that there has to be better understanding. And finally, we have come to a stage where some webinars are being organized, and I'm happy to be conducting this session. Let me share my PPT with you. So can you see the screen, please?
Yes, sir. Perfect.
Yes, we can see.
Yeah, okay. So let me take it to the... Okay. So this is about a specific clause in ISO 17021-1 2015. As you know, this is the standard which is applicable to certification bodies who are carrying out management system certification. For example, ISO 9001 or ISO 22000 or ISO 13485. And it also used by accreditation bodies like NABCB, where I was, or some of the accreditation bodies that were named in my introduction for the purpose of accreditation of certification bodies. 2015 version is the latest currently applicable, and there's a particular clause on statement of certification on the products or the packaging, which is what is causing some issue for me. As you know that lots of organizations, manufacturers as well as service providers, they go for ISO 9001 certification, which is the most widely certified standard around the world. They also go for other management system certifications like ISO 22000 or ISO 13485. I should list ISO 13485 here as well. Certifications which are used by manufacturers and which may have some linkage to the product. And they treat it as a matter of pride because it adds to their marketing credentials, it adds to their credibility in the market. And it's natural that they would like to advertise this fact that they are ISO 9001 or ISO 22000 or ISO 14001 or ISO 45001 certified as much as is possible. Can they advertise as much as is possible? Are there any limitations? Are there any rules? Can they put a mark on their product? If suppose there is a certification body has a mark for management system certification, some certification bodies have. Can the client or the manufacturer put that mark on the product or its packaging? Or can they say that they are ISO 9000 certified or ISO 22000 certified? Well, let's see some examples which I have actually encountered and taken photographs and are shown here. So here is I think it's a coconut water, tender coconut water served in a flight. Most of these examples are from flights that I have been taking. And as you can see, it claims that it is ISO 22000, HACCP, and US FDA certified. Let us see another example. Here is an example of, I think it's roasted peanuts. On the right-hand side, you can see below the name of the company, Euro India Fresh Foods Limited, an ISO 22000 certified company. You can see that on the right-hand side. Let's see another example. This is packaged drinking water. And below the brand name and the text packaged drinking water with added minerals, it says an ISO 22000, ISO 9000 and 2015 and HACCP certified company. I have another example. I think peanuts again, yes, but a different company. And somewhere it says, down at the bottom below the QR code, it says ISO 22000, 2018 certified company. Now, is this allowed or is this not allowed? Would anybody raise a hand and like to answer this question? All these statements which are made here, are they allowed? Are they not allowed? Or are they allowed with some modification?
Mr. Jahuri, this is Ramesh Koregave.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this is not allowed because this gives an indication that the indication that the product under the subject product has been certified. That gives an indication. Although it is stated little differently that a certified company, so it has not a complete deviation. It states it's a company certified, a manufacturing organization is certified, but putting it on a product labeling, on a primary packaging or a secondary packaging, could mislead actually.
So, in your opinion, it's not allowed.
Again, I'm just saying that it could mislead.
Ramesh, you have three options: allowed,
okay,
not allowed, allowed with a modification.
Allowed with a modification, sir.
Okay. Anybody else? Let's move on. Some more views. Allowed, not allowed, allowed with a modification. You can put it on the chat also if you wish.
This side, I would like to say that that
simply say allowed, not allowed, or allowed with a modification. No explanations are needed.
Okay, allowed with modification, I think.
Okay. Next, anybody else? Anybody else would like to hazard a guess?
Not allowed. Sir, this is Vinay Tripathi.
On the chat, somebody has written allowed with modifications. Dominique, Christopher. Okay, thank you. Who else? Yes, please.
Yeah, I think it's not allowed.
May I know your name, please?
I'm Yashi Srivastava from Indore.
Okay, so there is one not allowed. I see another chat person saying must be allowed. Another person saying Vinay Tripathi not allowed. Manish saying allowed with modifications. Abdul Sattar had said must be allowed. Okay, next person. Somebody was trying to speak. I thought before the lady, somebody was trying to speak. Krish says not allowed. Anchal Chapadia says allowed with modification. Ganesh says not allowed. All right, so we have all kinds of opinions. Allowed, not allowed, and allowed with modification. Okay, let's see what it is actually. Keep this suspense, whether it is allowed or not allowed, and let's go on. So I go back to the presentation. Why it's not moving? What happened? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear.
Okay, somewhere my presentation seems to have stopped. Yeah. Okay. So this is just to refresh you all people, there is this clause 8, which is information requirements in ISO 17021 part 1. And it has various subclauses. 8.1 is public information. What is it that should be available publicly as far as certification body is concerned? 8.2 is about certification documents, what kind of certificate you can issue or certification documents you can issue to your client. 8.3 is about reference to certification and use of marks. That's the clause that we are going to discuss. 8.4 is about confidentiality. 8.5 is about information exchange between a CB and its clients. What are the roles of a CB? What are the obligation of a client? What is the obligation of a CB, etc. Coming to 8.3, which is the specific clause, here it is reproduced here. The CB shall have rules governing any MS certification mark that it authorizes certified clients to use. So first thing, that there is some provision for use of MS certification mark if a CB has a mark. These rules shall ensure traceability back to the CB. Therefore, the mark has to be such that if it is put somewhere, CB can be identified. There shall be no ambiguity in the mark or accompanying text as to what has been certified and which CB has granted the certification. So this has to be very clear that this is a quality management systems or food safety management systems of an organization which is certified. There should be no ambiguity and which CB has certified. Then it says this mark shall not be used on a product nor product packaging, nor in any other way that may be interpreted as denoting product conformity. So on the mark, it's very clear. It says you cannot use it on a product, you cannot use it on a product packaging, and you cannot use it in any way which implies product conformity. So it's very, very clear. This clause is very clear. The mark also cannot be used on a laboratory test report or a calibration report or an inspection report, because that is the product. For a laboratory, the test report that they issue is the product. For a calibration laboratory, the calibration report they issue is the product. For an inspection body, the inspection report that they issue is the product. So again, the mark is not allowed to be applied on the product as it says. So therefore, it cannot be on these reports also. Then comes 833, which is really the focus of our presentation and our discussion today. CB shall have rules governing use of any statement on product packaging or in accompanying information that certified client has a certified MS. So it straightaway starts with a provision for having the statement on product packaging or in accompanying information. Product packaging is that which can be removed without the product disintegrating or being damaged. Accompanying information is considered as separately available or easily detachable. Type labels or identification plates are considered as part of product. The statement shall in no way imply that product, process, or service is certified by this means. Statement shall include reference to identification of the certified client, brand or name, which is there, as you can see on all these packaging that I showed to you. The type of MS, QMS, EMS, etc., and applicable standard, which was also there. The CB issuing the certificate. Now, this part was missing in all the examples that I showed. But if you go back, this is 834 and 835, which are not the focus of our discussion right now. So if you go back to the requirement, it shall not be used on a product or nor product packaging. Okay, sorry, I've gone. So the product packaging by this text is the packaging which cannot be removed, which can be removed with a, when the product will disintegrate. So if it's a food product now, especially, the packaging is removed and the product disintegrates. Therefore, as we say, I mean, the word is not used here. On primary packaging, it's not allowed. On secondary packaging, it is. For example, if I buy 12 bottles of that same packaged drinking water, small bottles, there'll be a cardboard box, and inside will be the bottles. On the bottles, there's a label. So on the cardboard box, a statement can be made that this is ISO 22000 certified company or ISO 9000 certified company. But while making that statement, the name of the manufacturer should come, which is there normally, and name of the CB should also be indicated. But on the labels which I have shown to you, this is not allowed as per the standard. Now, so all the answers that were given, we'll come back to that. I said allowed, not allowed, or allowed with modification. So the correct answer is not allowed. Allowed with modification on a secondary packaging, so to say. But please hold on. Recently, ISO 22000 has been certified, has been revised, which is 22003, sorry. ISO 22003 has been revised, which is applicable to food safety management system certification bodies, in addition to 1721. And this prescribes additional requirements. And the new ISO 22003 now says this, 8.3, 8.4. 8.3 says, shall not authorize the use of FSMS certification mark on the product nor the product packaging. 8.4 says, a certification body shall not permit the use of any statement on product packaging that the client has certified FSMS. This includes all product packaging, both primary packaging, which contains the product, and any outer or secondary packaging. So it's making it very, very clear. Now, this standard has been revised. This revision is in transition. So as far as food products are concerned, we go back to the go back to 1721. While 1721 does give a provision for putting the statement on secondary packaging, but 22003 does not give any such freedom. It overrules 1721 and it applies. So it very clearly says no statement of FSMS can be on product packaging, both primary as well as secondary. So now if we go back to those examples, let's see again. Here, the claim is ISO 22000. Not allowed on this, not allowed on secondary packaging also. Here, the claim is ISO 22000. Not allowed here, not allowed on any secondary packaging either. Here is a claim on ISO 22000, ISO 9001, HACCP. Now, if we treat HACCP as equivalent to 22000, not allowed. ISO 22000 HACCP not allowed. 9001 also not allowed. But 9001 claim can be on secondary packaging because 22003 applies only for FSMS. So as far as 9001 is concerned, 1721 provision still applies. So on the secondary packaging, you could still claim that it is ISO 9000 certified. And coming back here, it claims 22000, not allowed here, not allowed in the secondary packaging. It's not so difficult to understand this requirement, but the fact is that 7.5 years later, nearly 8 years, June of 2015 when the standard came, and now we are in April of 2023, 8 years later, I mean, it saddens me to see that certification bodies do not understand, certification body auditors do not understand, accreditation bodies do not understand. It's not merely certification bodies, because there are accreditation bodies exercising oversight, I can assure you, all over the world, the accreditation bodies, because I have experienced myself, not only through these examples, 2 of these products I was able to ask, because now I don't know the certification body. So what do I do? Fortunately for us, the Food Authority of India has a law which requires manufacturers to put their contact details on the product. So you have the email ID and telephone numbers on the product, fortunately. So I was able to complain to each one of them. I have complained to each one of them. Unfortunately, only 2 of them came back. The 2 of them who came back told me, because I asked them, who is your certification body? I'll tell you why. I did not tell them I only told them your claim is inappropriate. Can you tell me who is your certification body and can you show me the certificate? Only 2 of them came back to tell me who is the certification body and were willing to share the certification certificate. Others have not responded. One of them was not willing to tell me the certification body or share the certificate. And they belong to accreditation bodies which are located outside India. So, but operating in India. So there are all accreditation bodies. I can only say this without naming any of them. All accreditation bodies have not understood this requirement, have not enforced this requirement. Now, who should enforce this requirement? We should understand that this is not a requirement in the base standard, which is ISO 9001 or ISO 22000, which the manufacturer reads. He's supposed to be aware. So manufacturers will not be aware of this requirement because it's not part of 9001, it is not part of 22000. Only CBs and ABs read 17021. Nobody else reads. Therefore, the first obligation is that of the certification bodies. First, to inform the client that you are not, how you are going to make a statement, and then to enforce that requirement. And then it is the obligation of ABs to verify that this requirement is being enforced. It is obvious that both the parties are guilty today, unfortunately. All I can tell you is that in all this time and last 3 years that I have retired now in 2019, nearly 4 years now, I have been doing some peer evaluations for APAC and IAF evaluations. I have not seen, unfortunately, I have not seen a single CB or a single AB or a single peer evaluation team from a region raise this issue. It has not figured in any finding that I have seen over last so many years, which means that this is not being taken care of properly. Nobody is paying attention, and therefore nobody is raising an issue. And I'm sure all of you have found day to day, you are buying products. And if you're auditors from CBs or if you're assessors from ABs, I think your natural eye should be to look at the product and see whether it says 9,000 or 22,000. And if it says so, you should be reacting that, well, this is not allowed. But if you don't understand, and I can tell you in the AB, we have an AB assessor, mixed AB assessor WhatsApp group, and there were differing opinions. Like today, there were differing opinions from the CBs. I could see largely CBs were talking. So there were similar differing opinions. That means we have not understood. The ABs have not understood. The CBs have not understood. And therefore, you can't blame the industry for not having understood. The industry has not been told properly. CBs, if I ask a CB, are you enforcing this requirement? They say, yes, it's in their certification agreement. Who reads certification agreement? 100 of times I have signed, on the website. Do you agree? And I say yes, and we go forward. We don't even read. It's not a question of just having, this is paperwork that yes, it is in our agreement. I'm not sure whether it's there in agreement. I have not asked a CB to show me the agreement, but we can see that, or the rules of, all CBs have rules for use of logo, etc. Yes, as far as paper is concerned, it should figure either in the certification agreement or it should figure in the rules of use of logo and reference to certification if you have a separate document, which again forms part of the agreement, which would be referenced in the agreement. So in one way or the other, CBs would typically enforce this requirement. Question is not whether it's in your agreement or not. Question is, are your auditors checking? Now, let me tell you, the water one here, I think Clearwater, was it? Yeah. This guy was nice enough to call me up and say, well, I am serving the same bottles to the auditors all the time. They ask for water and I serve the same bottles. No one has ever raised this issue. You are the first one raising this issue. So that tells me that CB's auditors don't care, have not understood, are not checking, and are not reporting. From little experience, I don't do too many accreditation assessments. From the little I have done, it's not there in a certification body report. You are not requiring your auditor to report whether he's using the mark, whether he's using statement. You say mark, that he says, no, he's not using the mark, and matter ends. The specific clause relating to statement of certification is not there in most CB reports, and therefore auditors are not reporting. And then they are not checking. Is it in your checklist, which you give to your auditors? Please go back and see that. And since it's not in the checklist, since it's not in the report format, they're not checking. So obviously this is not enough. Having it in the agreement is not enough, because what we are seeing in the market shows that it's being freely used. The statement is being freely used. There's no reference to the CB. It's not allowed. Even if it was allowed, there should have been a reference to CB. It's not there. So which means, first thing, the CBs actually need to educate their clients, because this is, as I said, this is additional to ISO 9001 and additional to ISO 22000. And this is not there in the base standard 9001 or 22000. So manufacturer does not know unless you tell him. Second is to verify it during audits. Once you've granted certification, are your auditors verifying this requirement? Frankly, as I said, I have not seen any evidence that actually auditors are doing that. And I have the evidence of this one manufacturer who said, "मैं हर बार यही पानी पिलाता हूँ. I serve same bottles," and no auditor has raised an objection. Do we check their report specifically? I mean, as AB assessors, do we check their report specifically for this requirement? Please remember, this was a new requirement introduced in 2015 version. I was part of the working group which revised this standard. So I know more about the background. I can tell you that the draft international standard was circulated twice because of this particular requirement, because we were bringing this requirement. We wanted to be sure that it's understood or people are not having any objection to this requirement. So the draft international, this one and this two times it was circulated for comments. Then during witnessing, as an AB, we witness audits. Do we observe the CB auditor check the final product and packaging? Do we report this in our reports as AB? Is it there? Frankly, I don't even remember now whether an ABCB format had this requirement, perhaps not. Not that, I mean, all of us are making mistakes. It's not that I'm above mistakes or my organization was above mistakes. All of us are probably making mistakes. Question is that we recognize that mistake and rectify it. The sad part is that 7.5 years, 8 years later, people are not understanding the requirement. That's a bit sad. I mean, initial 1 or 2 years when the new standard comes in, one can understand. But 7, 8 years later, certainly there's no excuse for this. What is the way forward then? What are the possible measures that can be implemented in addition to what you may be doing right now? I mean, right now, I am sure most of the CBs would have this requirement into their agreements. I think beyond that, there would be nothing, to my mind. I don't foresee that CBs have it in their checklist. I don't foresee that CBs have it in their report format. And I don't think they have instructed their auditors to check this requirement specifically. And I don't think the auditors are actually checking this requirement. So the question is, and same applies to, I think, ABs. ABs also are caught unawares when I bring this up to the ABs. 2 ABs I know, as I said, 2 CBs I know who are the CBs. And in case of 2 certificates, I know the ABs. And I brought it to the notice of those 2 ABs that this is your certificate, accredited certificate, and this is what is happening. So that means we need to have an AB. AB should have its checklist or report specifically including this requirement, highlight this requirement. That is statement being made or not, which is being checked or not. Yeah. Somebody wanted to say something? And during the office assessment by the AB, we need to see whether CB has done anything to apprise the clients of this requirement, because having it in the agreement obviously is not sufficient. So I would expect that CBs do more to educate their clients what is permissible and what is not permissible. Of course, check the CB certification agreement or any other document meant for the clients, whether this requirement is included properly or not. It's just possible that it's not included properly, because if CBs have not understood the requirement, they may not include it in their agreement also or in their rules also. Then check whether CB audit reports are having this requirement or not. Or if not having, you should raise an issue that the report does not indicate whether this part was checked or not. And same thing during witness assessment. If the CB auditor fails to check the product, fails to check this aspect, then we should be raising an issue. I don't say non-conformity, raising an issue that why this is not being checked. What else can be done? I did one such session earlier. Some more measures came in. I recorded them. CB suggested that educate your client in the stage 2 audit, because that's the time when you are actually doing a complete audit. At that point of time, educate the client that what is the rule, what is required, what is allowed, what is not allowed. Somebody suggested make a provision in the quote itself. Take an undertaking from the client right there that they will not use any mark or statement on product or packaging, especially for food products. As you know, it's not allowed at all. Provide some guidance with examples for the clients. Now you've got 4 examples. Please take this. You can write to me, or I would request ICS, if there's a website, they can place this presentation on the website so that it's freely available to people. And explain to your client, explain with some examples. Reverse search. Somebody said reverse search for use of CB mark. You can do reverse searching on the net to see whether your mark is being used or not somewhere. Educate the clients in the closing meeting, and exercise control on the external auditors, because a lot of CBs use a lot of external auditors. The one question that was raised was, what happens if we find such a thing? What is the probable corrective action that would be accepted? Now let's be practical. There would be certain packaging material available with the company, any company, and it would take them time to exhaust that material. I don't think we should expect that they should destroy all that material overnight. Do you? I mean, that could be the harshest measure. That is a measure somebody like a regulator could take, possibly. If there's a non-compliance, destroy the material. But should we say that? I'm not so sure. If you do that, well and good. If you can persuade your client that, please, you cannot use this. This is non-compliant. You cannot use this packaging. But certainly, I would say, being practical, would mean that in a reasonably declared time, they should exhaust the packaging. But it cannot continue for 6 months and 8 months or 10 months. I mean, I'm wondering, I don't audit. You people go to the industry and audit. How much inventory of packaging material do they carry? I mean, somebody tells me he's carrying an inventory of 1 year, I would look at him. Really? 1 year inventory in these times? I would be surprised if that happens. So, well, we could accept a corrective action, which says that within a reasonable time, I would exhaust. Once I exhaust this current packaging, I would change and remove the reference to statement of certification. So here is a requirement for which it's the CB's responsibility. So we should be checking, CB should be doing first role. Verification is by ABs. You can verify this in the DRR itself at the document review stage as an AB, whether CB has put it properly into its system. If you are reviewing all the documentation, because I know of ABs who think reviewing a quality manual is sufficient. And I am surprised how this could be acceptable, that you just review the quality manual, because one could write quality manual based on the standard, just reproduce the text. Instead of the organization shall, say ICS shall, and the quality manual is done, which tells us nothing about the system of the CB. So we need to look at the procedures, we need to look at the agreements and the rules. And then we need to look at them again in the office assessment to verify. We need to look at the CB's audit reports. In witnessing, we need to look at the auditors, what the auditors are doing. So verification by ABs at different levels, from document review to office assessment to witness assessment, is needed. Anything else somebody can suggest? I would be happy to add here. This was intended to be a discussion. We can have a discussion on the subject. To me, requirement was very clear from the day I was part of the standard, so I knew this is a requirement. But sadly, it's not being followed. And as late as yesterday, I took a flight, day before yesterday rather, and it was still there. So this is an ongoing problem. It's a huge problem because people have got used to using that statement. Getting them off that habit is going to take time. But well, the requirement is requirement. If you're following a standard, you're following a standard. And requirement is pretty clear. I hope if it was not pretty clear, it should be clear today. But if you have anything else to say, please go ahead. I am open for a discussion and open for a question answer. So I am seeing it's written, all webinar recordings are available on our Satgund Sangh website within 24 hours. So you will have access to this presentation through the recording. Thank you, Sumit.
Sir, I have an apprehension here. already, in India, the number of companies that go for these kind of initiatives and certifications to upgrade their systems, we are, there are very few companies, honestly, just a very small percentage of the total. And
Yes.
I think this is a small incentive to them. Okay, yeah, you can actually flaunt the certification or a statement on your product. And I mean, this becomes a kind of incentive. Like, what we are witnessing with NABL, for example, not many labs are still volunteering for NABL unless.
You're right.
So they-
You're right that this is an incentive, but please remember that you have to take care of the think of 1.3 billion people in India. How many of them understand the difference between a management system being certified? When they see, oh, this company is ISO 9001 certified, they immediately feel the product is good, don't they? Common man. Think about common man. We are professionals. We understand what an ISO 9001 certified company means as opposed to what is a certified product. But think of a common man, the one who is buying in the market, who looks at the product and sees it's written ISO 9001 certified company. He thinks, so product should be good. That's the concern the committee had. And therefore, the restriction on product or product packaging. And I see Mr. Khurana has written, but manufacturers are and should be aware of provision in 2003. No, sir. 2003, nowhere, no manufacturer will read 2003 because it doesn't pertain to them. It pertains to certification bodies. It pertains to accreditation bodies. So I would not read. How many manufacturers you think would read 1721? They will not. They're not required to. Come on. In fact, I was thinking that I think this issue should be raised that in the, for example, I have worked in BIS, and in the BIS standard, there used to be, and some people here, if they are from BIS, in BIS standard, there's a clause on labeling, marking or labeling. Every product standard has a clause. I was thinking, why should that practice not be in 9001 and 22000 about marking or labeling and saying there clearly that if you go for certification, you're not allowed to claim or something like that. So I think we should introduce this requirement 9001 and 20000. I guess I would write to BIS. Let's see if they respond and if they take this up. But I don't think, no, I'm sorry. I would not expect a manufacturer to read ISO 17021 or to read 20003. That would be very unfair to expect manufacturers to start reading standards which are not meant for them, really. For just one requirement which is there. I'm reading the chat box.
And I think what you say is 100% right. There has to be additional requirement for the ISO 9001 and 22001.
Yes, that's what I think. I think 22,000, all these standards.
You are 100% right, sir.
Management system standards should contain a requirement of what can be advertised, what can be claimed, what cannot be claimed, if it's not already there. Umesh says allowed if wrap can be used. No, there's no reference to removable label, etc., etc. The standard. Let's not do the nitpicking. Tomorrow, manufacturer will be smart enough to put a sticker which is not removed in a water bottle, for example, through the life of the product. What is the life of that product once you buy it? 10 minutes, 20 minutes on a small bottle. Larger bottle, maybe 1 day. For that 1 day, that label is very much there, removable or not. So let's not get into whether it's a removable label or not removable label. The standard doesn't say so. In fact, standard says the other way. By putting an example of identification plate is considered product, it's telling you that if a label stays in the product, on the product through the life of the product, then it's considered part of the product. Because the identification plates on an electric iron or an electric motor or a refrigerator stays through. Nobody removes that. It's removable, but nobody removes that. So you can't say that it's removable, therefore it's allowed. Certainly, it's not a product certification. That's the issue. Yashi, it's not a process certification. We call it management system. Process is slightly different. Process is organic or good agricultural practices. That we call process certification. 22,000 is management system. HACCP will be a process certification if it's not a management system standard.
Sir, excuse me, I have a question.
Somebody is asked, just hold on. I'll allow you questions. Let me just read through the chat box. Somebody is asking, please elaborate mark as it is being debated that logo is not used or something else. There are two parts to it. Number one, Logo is the logo of the certification body, which only it can use, that it's its identity. And that it uses on its stationery everywhere. The mark sometimes usually is different, or sometimes could be the same logo with something additional. For example, even when I was in NABCB, let us say NABCB logo, I am sure you people will have seen an NABCB logo. And the mark was NABCB logo with a small QM-0115, which 0015, which means you are the accredited body, your QM number is 015 for quality management system 15. That becomes the mark. So there's a difference between logo and mark. Logo is purely used by the organization, it's its identity. Mark is something that it allows clients to use. Certification mark or whatever you call it. Accreditation mark. In case of accreditation body, it's called accreditation mark. In case of certification body, it's called certification mark. For example, ISI mark that you see, okay, because we are able to see it on the screen. Let me show you. What happened again? The So let's go back. Let me show you. Here you can see, for example, you can see the ISI mark, isn't it? Once upon a time, the organization called Indian Standard Institution. And just this thing was the logo of ISI. Just this thing. Written on top is the IS number, which is the Indian standard number. Below is the certification mark license number. So this is certification mark. So the difference between logo and certification mark is, in case of BIS, used to be. Now BIS and logo is entirely different. I wish I could show that to you. Somewhere it would be there. So, so the logo and the mark are two different things. Logo is something which is the institution's organization's identity. Only it is allowed to use. Nobody else is allowed to use. As far as mark is concerned, the mark is something that you allow your client to use. Accreditation bodies allow their clients to use. Certification bodies allow their clients to use. So that's the difference between the two. I hope that's clear. Anandpal, I think it was.
Yes, sir. Very good. Thank you, sir.
Let me see some more. No, that's not Umesh. I have given that answer to you that there nowhere the standard mentions removable label. Well, you may say it will discourage. Sudesh Sharma says, won't it discourage a large number of companies for volunteering for such certificate? Well, they have plenty of other material too. On secondary packaging, they can put on their advertising material, they can put on their publicity material, they can put at so many other places. Yes, to a certain extent, if they are used to now putting it on the product and now they are told not to put it in the product, they will be discouraged. But the fact remains is, as I said, please look at it from a common man's perspective, not from your professional perspective. You know very well what is certified, what is not certified. Where there are many organizations when they do not have any credentials, but still they claim. Frankly, well, that's a problem. Of course, have you not seen CE mark on so many products, and who do you think is verifying that? Your mobile carries CE mark, so many other products carry, chargers carry CE mark. Do you know anybody is verifying that? Nobody is verifying in India. You don't know whether that CE mark is valid or not. So that's a problem. So no doubt. But in case of food products, I would expect that any misleading information on the label would be something which FSI can take action. So to my mind, in this case, FSI should be able to take action. And I am actually marking these to FSI.
Sir, this is Manish Puranik. In the same context, I have also posted one thing. Like, can we not have some portal on the website or the server of the Quality Council of India where we can post these type of wrong things where the actions can be taken by the statutory bodies. So that
Well, if
every
some-
individual,
if some-
every
somebody
individual becomes.
Somebody from QCI is there. I hope he's taking notice. Certainly, we can bring it to the notice of QCI whether they would like to do something like this or not. Mr. Khurana, I have responded. Mesh, I have responded. Manish, your question has just come. Yeah.
Sir, you are the best source of information to the QCI. You can brought this particular thing. To the notice of
Certainly, I can
QCI.
do that. But it helps if more people write, more the merrier. So I would encourage you all to write. Certainly, I would write. I would return to Food Authority. Certainly, I would write.
So also the penalties also or the fines also has to be huge.
No, these penalties come from some power somebody has. QCI has no power today. FSI has power. FSI has power. FSI could be within the provision of its rules and regulations. If somebody is making misleading claim, FSI could take action. But QCI can do only a voluntary service, doesn't have any power. It can only discipline the certification bodies, NABCB has accredited, nobody else. Let's understand the limits of.
Because we had seen many
I think some
areas.
regulations are there. I think some regulations are there with respect to the false claim to the advertisements.
To my mind, yes, there are, and I think we should be able to utilize that kind of. Even in food products, I think FSI has a regulation on something on misleading claims or false claims or something. So
but FSSAI works only on those which they come to know. There are many which they do not come to know. So how they can take.
The fact
So
is,
it is our responsibility. It is our responsibility to bring those type of things to the notice of regulatory bodies. So if we all together start working like a vigilant, so naturally things will improve.
You're right. It's our responsibility. I mean, most of the time we don't raise issues. We are very tolerant community as Indians, as general are, and that includes me. I look at some deviation, I say, forget it, yeah, move on. I'll not buy this product later on, and we don't complain. We are very uncomfortable.
Sir, how many times we have raised the issue on the websites where they say that you get a certificate in 3,000 rupees?
Let's not digress. Let us not digress.
That is the problem.
That is the problem. Hold on. Let us not digress from the issue. Let us not digress from the issue. There are a whole lot of issues about ISO 9000 kind of certification, but let's stick to the 8.3.3. Now, Rama says, you said, yeah, somebody said that it's our responsibility. Yes, it is. But it is if properly sensitized. The regulatory bodies, the market surveillance which takes place, where they go around into the market, take samples, etc., they could also make this part of their surveillance. So there will be a market surveillance as well. So let's not forget that regulators have a duty to do market surveillance. And unless they are same thing, if it is not there in CB auditors checklist, it doesn't check. So unless this is an issue in regulators, inspectors checklist, that this is also something he should check, he will not check. Rama says that these need to be part of the regulatory requirements. I think in food they are. I think in drugs also they are. There are some requirements on labeling, etc. So any misleading claim, I'm sure any misleading claim on the label is something which, at least in regulated products, can be referred to that regulator, and he should be able to take. To my mind, he should be able to take action. C certificates can be verified. Yeah, C certificates can be verified on that website, but we will never be able to see how many of us know where is that website, and so many products which are carrying. The question is not that I can verify. The question is so many people are carrying C mark in the Indian market. Who is checking that? Who is preventing that? Nobody. QCI is not a regulatory body. QCI does not have an enforcement mission. Yes, QCI is not a regulatory body, so it will not be able to do. Yes, certainly, as a voluntary activity, it can bring to notice as an education that these are the kind of things not allowed, and it could put those things on the website.
So I think awareness also is one of the major issue.
Yes, awareness. So this program is creating awareness. Again, I would like to thank ICS.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And Mr. Bansal. Raised hand. Can you?
Morning, Joris. I just one thing.
Yes, good morning.
There are many regulatory bodies, but most of the regulatory bodies have got very weak enforcement mechanism.
I am aware, sir. We are all aware. We can
what
only
do we do for that? Because they issue regulate everything, but there is no enforcement machinery with them.
We can only put pressure on them to regulate better and better as consumers. I think that's the only thing we can do. As I said, if it's not in the checklist of a regulator, he will never look at it, bring it to the notice. I think we should become more proactive. We should bring it to the notice of authorities, of the ABs, of CBs. I think that would, and things do change. First thing is to have a rule. If there's no rule, you can't challenge anything. Once there is a rule, enforcement is weak. I'm still prepared to live with, because there's a rule at least. I can cite that rule. So first thing is to write the rule down. When the proper rule is there, then we'll talk about enforcement. I see a lot of people saying, oh, enforcement is poor, so let's not write the rule. No, I'm not in favor of that approach. I always say, please write the rule. Howsoever weak the enforcement is, please write the rule. Once the rule is there, I have a locus standi to raise an issue. It may be weak enforcement, but I can raise an issue. If there's no rule, I can't raise an issue. So in this case, there is a rule. Now the question is how to enforce that. Of course, the CBs, ABs have a responsibility, but in regulated products, I'm sure, whether it's drugs, because a lot of pharma units have ISO 9001 certification. So if you go to the, I haven't seen any example of drugs, but tomorrow maybe I should start looking at the medicines that we are purchasing and what is on the medicines. Are they claiming ISO 9001 certification? But I'm sure in case of regulated products, we should be able to raise the issue with the regulator, and he would in some way or the other, no regulation would permit misleading claims on the label. I'm sure of that.
Sir, is this requirement a part while granting the FSSAI license?
I don't think it's a requirement of granting license. I'm not sure, but we need to bring it to the notice of FSSAI. I have written to FSSAI. I have given these examples to FSSAI. Let's see what they do. I think this is not a forum. Revati is asking me, please clarify about calculation of effective number of employees for MD QMS as per IFMD 9. I'm not an expert on IFMD 9, honestly. I know some experts. I think we can have a separate session. If you request for MD QMS, we can organize a separate session. If you are from a CB, please get in touch with me. We'll find a way of having a session on MD QMS IFMDs. But let's stick to this issue today.
Sir, as a conclusion,
just one moment. On the somebody's written, in businesses, customer audits happening. It's a B2B format. Business should allow audits by consumers. So consumer forums should be allowed. Now the question is, it's nowhere written, Rama. First thing is, today if a manufacturer wants a kind of consumer audit and he gets in touch with some consumer and please come and audit me, he is free to do that. Nobody prevents that. But is it a requirement somewhere? Right now, there's no requirement. And as I said, once there's no requirement, nobody cares. There has to be first a requirement. Where can that requirement be? For example, I'll tell you something interesting. Slightly different from this, but unless you write a requirement, it doesn't happen. Way back in 2005, we were asked to write a standard on quality management systems for public service organizations. There was an initiative of the government called Sevottam. I was still in BIS. I was involved in writing that standard. The standard is called IS 15700 today. It's available today for public services, simplified quality management system. And one of the requirements we wrote in that standard was, I don't remember now whether it was annual or periodic, but it was certainly there that they should carry out a customer survey. And then customer survey, we also, when I went to QCI, it was 2006, early 2006, we were implementing that standard in some organizations. And we actually carried out customer survey in some of the organizations. Some of the results were, so surprising. I usually talk about one particular issue. Post office, a survey was done in the post office. And you might think that a post office survey will bring out things like slow surveys or something. You know what the post service surveys bring out? The survey brought out that the majority of the clients in a post office today are senior citizens. They go there for their savings. They go for their PPF, their NSCs, their savings bank accounts, their senior citizen accounts. They go for their passbooks, etc. When they go there and they say, okay, my passbook is to be updated, or he deposits some money or takes out some money, the counter clerk says, "ठीक है, 4 घंटे बाद ले जाएगा. Please take it after 3 or 4 hours." Now the feedback that was received was this: we cannot go back and come back after 4 hours, but we have enough time. We are retired people. We have enough time to sit here. So please provide A, place to sit, B, fan above, C, drinking water. This was just the finding of a post office. So I think it's very important that people speak to their customers. We all talk about customer focus 9,000 and everywhere, but I don't see people talking to the customers, actually talking to the customers. And a lot of people, especially in government, we tend to assume that this is what customer might want and to start designing our processes around that. So I think it's important to talk to the customers, but there has to be requirements, Rama. If there's no requirement, nobody does it. That's why I'm very strong advocate, regardless of poor enforcement. I know enforcement is poor, that you first write down a requirement somewhere so that I can hold somebody to account. Without a requirement, I can't hold anybody. Two more messages I am seeing. Regulators should allow third-party audits by consumer forums to check quality. If regulators have mandated to product, they should. Well, make a proposition, Rama, from your CCC, right to Food Authority. Let's start. Right to CDSCO. I mean, it has to come in the rules. You're right. Let's see. Unless there's a requirement, nothing, it doesn't happen. So let's try and do that. Yes. Okay. Anybody else? I seem to have run through the chat box. One more has come. Okay. Rama says we'll represent. Yes. Please go ahead. I don't know whether there are any consumer organizations. I did circulate this to consumer organizations. If they are there, well, consumer organizations should also start doing this. That because they are ultimately, this is an issue where they are being misled. The consumer is being misled into believing that the product is certified in certain ways. So it would be good if the consumer organizations pick up this subject and talk about this. Anybody else?
Sir, as a conclusion, what we can understand through this session, what I can understand is whenever we see any kind of this statement such as ISO certified company or 22001 certified company on their product label. So initially we have to warn them not to do that.
Yes.
Since, as you said, since there were no regulations on any of the standard, I could not be able to see this requirement anywhere in 9001 or any of the standard.
Yes.
So we cannot, I mean, the auditors cannot raise any non-conformity on seeing this on the label.
No. Auditors can raise. Hold on. Just hold on. So let's not mix the issues. Number one, you're right. This requirement is not there in 9001 or 22000 or in 13485. And therefore, the manufacturer per se will not be aware of this requirement. This requirement has been written down in 1721. The 1721 requirements are known to the AB or the CB. So first thing, it's the duty of the AB to tell the client when he's certifying a client that this is the requirement. That requirement has to be enforced on the client formally, which means it is there in the certification agreement. Once it is in the certification agreement, auditor can raise an issue. So please don't mix that. It's not in the standard, auditor cannot raise an issue. Auditor can raise a non-conformity against certification requirements, which includes certification standard, as well as any of the requirements laid down by IAF, which are outside the standard, as well as any of the requirements laid down by CB itself, or the AB also. Sometimes AB is putting in requirements.
I understand. So you mean to say that whenever any CB is making a certification agreement with the client, in the agreement itself, you are telling as per ISO 17021, this wording should not be used in your product labeling. That terminology, the term should be there in agreement itself, you are telling.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
If I was an AB and I was to go to a CB, and if this is not there, there are only two possibilities to my mind, two practical possibilities. A, it's right there it sits in the certification agreement, which is signed by the client. B, it sits in a document called rules for the use of logo and statement, etc., certification status, etc. And that rules are enforced on the client by virtue of either reference in the agreement or somewhere. So in either case, it's imposed on the client. The question is, the client may not be reading the fine print of the agreement. So unless you explain to him, he may not still be aware. So first thing is you should, that's why I said when I raised the issue with the clients first, because their address was on the product due to the food safety regulation. I asked them, who is the CB which has certified you? I didn't tell them that you are doing it wrong. I wanted to know who is the CB because I thought the CB might be the one which is not doing its job properly. Let me not start blaming the manufacturer right away, unless CB can show me it's doing its job. Now, CB showing me it's doing its job by just having a certification agreement is not acceptable to me, because we know what happens to certification agreements. It needs more than that.
Okay, so another clarification is whenever NABCB is auditing the CBs in India, is it one of the point that NABCB is looking at as a compliance or requirement when they do the audit with the CBs?
Not only NABCB, all the ABs ought to be looking at this. To my mind, the ABs are not looking at this because the two examples, incidentally, the two examples I have, none of them concerned NABCB. It concerned two foreign ABs. I'm not naming them again, but the question is that this is the problem, the amount of the claims that you see on the products around you indicates that ABs are also not verifying it properly, all the ABs. I'm not willing to go into whether NABCB is doing it or UIS is doing it or UF is doing it or UCAS is doing it. Let's just say that in general, if this problem is there 7.5 years later, 2015 June, and now we are in April 23, it's nearly 8 years. If this problem is there in the market, that means the CBs have not done their job, the ABs have not done their job. Let's just face that. I mean, it saddens me to say that. I've been chief of AB. In my time, it may not have happened either. So I'm no holy cow, frankly. Let's face it. It's not being done. It has not happened. Today, the amount of misuse we are seeing, obviously, ABs and CBs have not done the job.
So in that case, the ABs need to be educated first to take this as a serious point.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So ABs need to be educated as well. I can assure you, I've raised this issue with all the ABs who are operating in India. I've sent a mail to all the ABs who are operating in India. Those I know.
But as Mr. Sudesh Sharma said earlier, there is a very small quantity of people who are going for these type of certifications. I think 90% of the companies, they don't even think, small companies, they don't even think for going for the certification. So I think they also needs to be taken care of.
So you mean to say they are making this claim that they are ISO 9000 certified without having a certificate?
That is one thing, but even they will not go for any certification. They will not even claim, or they will just claim saying that we are certified, something like that.
Yeah, there are. I did see some examples where they're simply saying we are certified.
Because as you rightly said, on one of the packaging mineral water bottle, that one of the packaged drinking water, I had also seen they in 2023 they are saying I am ISO 9001 2000 certified. So I think there's a lot of
Yes, that's there, and somewhere I saw 2008 Roshan certified. So
yeah. So I also I called the organization as the customer care number was there. So I called them, I told them what the things are. I just tried to make them aware. But I think these type of things are a lot in number. So
yes, they are a lot in number. So it has to be both a combination of education, because then there's not sufficient education being done, and a combination of enforcement by CBs and ABs where there are proper.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
I recall, sir, when you were in chair CEO NABCB, that time you were saying that we every day count new certification bodies coming, whether it is genuine or not genuine. And now the count is increasing every day.
So that remains an issue with me even today. I talk about unauthentic certificates all the time, non-IF ABs. For me, the biggest problem is CBs who are outside IF system and who are not subject to any oversight. At least CBs within the IF system are subject to some oversight. Some may argue it's not sufficient. Once in 4 years, ABs are being evaluated is not sufficient. Somebody can argue that, but they are being evaluated. As far as CBs who are outside IF systems claiming accreditation from ABs who are, I don't know whether they exist, some vague name, UKAF, UASL, all kinds of ABs are there. Whether they exist or not, that's a bigger problem. To my mind, that's the biggest issue in the market today.
And that can be resolved with the auditors who are traveling around, and they can educate, and this kind of seminar definitely helps people.
Sure, education is one way, but to my mind, the answer to that other issue is I've been pushing for since 2006. If you go back to a plan document of 2006, you'll find there was a reference to regulation of conformities in bodies. I am still believe that regulation of conformities in bodies a need in India, and we should have that. It's been flagged in the government also at the highest levels, in my time at least, and at the highest level this issue has been flagged. I don't know where that is now.
Thank you, sir.
Any other question? Anybody else wanting to know?
Sir, I'd just like to add, how do you get parity amongst CBs. When I mean parity, I would mean, sir, how do you get parity among CBs in terms of being able to get them having consistent practices? If you do not have consistent practices, obviously all such motives would not sustain. Because the moment I try and tell my client that, okay, don't use it here, he says, okay, let me look for another CB because that one doesn't stop me. So while we address this, we also need to get parity amongst bodies, wherein one way is that the ACBI takes the lead and puts this, consistently pushes it in a very big way.
Yes, ACBI should. I mean, you've hit I mean, Sumit, you know very well, wherever there are number of people, consistent implementation becomes a challenge. If I have 5 assessors and if I have 50 assessors, the variation increases. If you have 10 auditors and if you have 100 auditors, variation increases. If we have 5 CBs and 100 CBs and 200 CBs, the variation increases. This is an ongoing, consistent challenge for every AB, for every CB, how to get consistency among their own people. And here you are talking about not your own people, you're talking about CBs. So which means ABs have to enforce on their CBs that there is consistent application. It's a challenge. Education comes, stricter ABs pushing this requirement more strictly is the only answer I can say.
Thank you.
Yes, anybody else? If nobody else is there, maybe we can think about.
Sir, Yashi, one question.
Yes.
Like there are many CBs in the market now, but sometimes we don't know whether they are actually IAF accredited or not.
That's easy actually. If you want to know, if you know the name of the CB, first thing is you ask them who they are accredited with. And if they tell you they are accredited with XYZ, then go to the IAF website and look at the names of the members. If they figure they're fine, if they don't, that's it.
Okay, so on the IAF website itself,
all ABs who are members are listed there. You can certainly go ahead and get the name.
Okay.
So all you have to do is to first ask. I am putting the IAF website address on the chat box. First ask your CB, who is your accreditation body? If they tell you who is their accreditation body, you just go to IAF website and see whether they are members or not. That's all.
Okay. Now, second point is like, how come few CBs are providing the certificate even without conducting the audits?
Well, you are bringing to another issue. The question is, it's a voluntary market. There's no bar on anybody setting up a CB. Tomorrow I can set up a CB. I can say Anil Johri Certification Services and set up a CB. I don't need any license. I don't need any. Please also remember, accreditation is also voluntary. I don't need any accreditation. If suppose I was Tata and I start Tata Certification Services and the market accepts my certificate without accreditation, I'm fine. I'll sell my certificate.
But they are IAF accredited. Still, they are conducting this.
Well, if they are IAF accredited and they are issuing certificate without an audit, can you please pass on this information? If you don't want to make your name known, please pass it on to me and I'll see whether I can reach out to the accreditation body and we can do something about it. That's unethical. That's unacceptable. In my time in NABCB, we cancelled a number of accreditations on unethical practices. I can tell you that. I think Sumit is nodding his head. He knows.
Yeah, please share your ID. So like, I really want that the system, there should be some value of the certification. So
yes,
those who are just conducting this, they are just spoiling the market. That's it.
There are plenty of them who are spoiling the market.
Yeah.
First is non-IAF ones and then the ones who are under IAF and yet unethical. Here is the ID. That's also good.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes. Somebody was
I would like to share some of my experience. What I'm saying, first of all, my compliments and thanks to Johri Hub, and it was very vital issue which he has taken up, which we come day and night, all these things are there. Use of wrong ISO mark, and that is true. And one thing which I want to give message to our senior auditors and auditors also, we do check all these things during recertification or initial audit. However, we missed out during the surveillance audit. Because that is a very issue, because there only lapses. Initially, they will not put. Later on, some consultant will tell why you are not putting on this. That is your marketing gimmick. So there our auditors have been. Plus, we had to bring this thing also in our internal auditor and lead auditor course, that a particular clause has to be dealt very in detail. That's most important.
Yes.
And this problem is not in India, but in overseas also. I've
Yes.
seen in Dubai also similar problems are there.
Yes. So it's a global issue. It's not really merely a problem in India.
Yeah.
But I decided I'll focus on Indian market first. Let's get our house in order before we go elsewhere.
Definitely, we are with you, and it will be our pleasure to associate with you to bring more and more awareness and see how we can do it. And another thing also, we can prepare, like apart from TMLA, the trademark license agreement, in that it is clearly mentioned how to use the mark. And apart from that also, we should prepare a small checklist and as a ready recon and hand over to the organization so that he is well aware this is the things he cannot do.
So the CB, Mr. Dr. Kataria, thank you very much for this organizing the session. As I said right at the beginning, I am deeply appreciative of the fact that you spare time for social work, which most CBs do not. And you know, I made a request to you, why don't you take the lead on organizing this webinar, and you immediately did too. Thank you very much for that. Yes, we should be, the message would be that writing in the certification agreement or writing your rules is not enough for a CB. You need to do more when you are certifying a client. And some of those ideas were there in my presentation. You need to do more to educate your client that what is permissible, what is not permissible. So CBs actually should take the lead because it's a requirement of 1721.
Sure, sure. Thank you, thank you.
Sir, I have one concern.
Yes.
This is, you know, with regard to very well-placed public sector undertakings, PSUs, you know. Now they have made it a point to basically go for, you know, even to announce their ISO certification programs on the GEM portals, you know, and on the, and what is now happening is, I don't know, I mean, earlier we used to have a kind of standard to their certification of public sector undertakings, you know. Now all sorts of fly-by-night operators are undercoating and entering this arena, and even the best PSUs are hiring them because they say L1 hai, IF hai, and it's just a question of a walkthrough and the certificate is issued. And in this country, I mean, because I have also superannuated from a very top PSU, and the very same PSU is now going via the GEM portal. And once upon a time, they used to have all the best branded certifying bodies certifying them. And now you have these fly-by-night operators entering PSU through the GEM portal. And, you know, again, attacking the sanctity of the ISO certificate itself here. I mean, this is really ridiculous and audacious. I mean, I just can't digest the fact that L1 for certification without looking at the intellectual value of inputs or the value addition by certifying bodies. And this is happening across the best PSUs, let me tell you. I mean, it's just something which is not related to the topic, but since you have been in a very, very responsible position, it's a trend and it's a very bad trend going on.
Well, I have fought a relentless, failing battle with unauthentic certificates. I can tell you, I have not been very successful. Ideally, I would have liked to have a regulation in place because accreditation is not the answer to unethical certification. Accreditation bodies are not. I mean, I found when I was the chief of NABCB, accreditation body assessors were not equipped to be investigators. They were auditors. They were assessors. I had to actually do sessions on how to detect malpractice for my assessors so that they become somewhat investigators. I even went to the board and took permission to hire private detective agencies. And I did hire private detective agencies to investigate some of the unethical certification complaints. So it was not within our, capability. I mean, we are not equipped to handle these kind of things. So it's a tough call. There's no doubt what you're saying is true. Any accredited CB under IF system, we would consider they are all equivalent, whether they are well-known or not so well-known. But unethical certification is unethical. And all I can tell you from my experience is that unethical certification is not the preserve only of lesser known CBs. It afflicts every CB at every level I have seen. So please be clear that any accredited CB is competent. It has been evaluated. It is competent. However, if they decide to engage in unethical certification, that's something which is very difficult to handle. But all kinds of CBs have been. If you look at the website today, you'll find how many CBs are today facing suspensions from various accreditation bodies. In India, I'm talking of. In SA 8000, in GOTS, etc. And all big names are there. So let's be clear that lack of ethics, it has nothing to do with big or small name. It has to do with the character. And let's also face it that there's a problem of ethics all around the globe, specifically in India.
Yes, sir. The only thing is my point was that these PSUs also need to be basically educated by someone in QCI that they are going for this kind of,
Certainly, use your good influence as a senior officer of, even if retired, organize some webinars. They can be done. I mean, formally, I did go once to secretary, who's in charge of PSUs. Heavy industries, no. What was the department? DPE, Department of Public Enterprises. But it didn't happen. We can do programs for PSUs, and they can be done informally also. They don't have to be formal programs. Like this, we have a program here. Circulate to all the people, get some PSUs interested, their programs can be done.
But Ajkal, sir, sorry to come in, sir. Ajkal, a lot of places, the concept of QCBS based tenders have also come in. So the L1 criteria,
Yes.
they are mixing the quality orientation also. So they have some quantum for the quality, and then so things are changing, sir, and it's come in PSUs. I was very happy to see it.
But Sumit, the only problem with that criteria sometimes can be that those additional requirements can be tweaked to favor somebody or not favor somebody. So people do,
that's
that's also a tricky area to treat.
It is.
Jyoti sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You are talking of regulation on accreditation.
No, I'm talking of regulation of conformity certain bodies. Where is the problem? We should attack the problem. The problem is not the accreditation bodies are not doing unethical work largely. It's the certification body which audits and does not audit and issues a certificate. So the problem is there. It's a test lab which does not do testing and issues a test report. And there are plenty of examples of that also. So when I say regulation of conformities in bodies, it's not limited to certification bodies. It's also to lab. But once you do regulation of conformities in bodies, my idea was that will also bring in certain part of it which will apply to the accreditation body. At least they'll have to register. At least they will have to do some, declaration of file some returns, etc., that they are present in India. Today, I don't even know how many accreditation bodies are operating in India.
Now, this regulation is to be brought by which ministries?
Actually, the ministry till I was there, the ministry identified was DPIIT that it should bring in. But it has not happened.
So, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, somebody has to take.
Yes.
The
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, then I think we are just approaching the time. It's 12:27. 3 minutes left. Any last words anybody wants to say? Otherwise, we can close this session. Thank you very much. Thanks to a lot of people who came in and listened to this. I hope this will bring more awareness and there'll be more compliance in the market than has been till now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We are thankful to Anil Johri ji for sparing his precious time and enlightening us on the subject. The information provided by you has surely increased the awareness of usage of logo, certification mark, statements on mark of products. We are also thankful to all the participants for their participation in making this webinar interactive and a successful one. We assure you that we as a certification body and also as a common man shall ensure that there should be awareness for the usage of logo and take necessary action in order to ensure that no misleading statements are being made. Thank you. And sir, this is the 124th virtual webinar.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
ICS is pleased to provide you all its research and development, integrated management system for QMS, EMS, and OHSMS, excellence in education management, ISO made easy in Gujarati, Marathi, Telugu, Hindi. If you need any of the books, please contact the below. Feedback form. Please register on www.satgunsung.org and go in your login and give the feedback. On behalf of the Satgun Sung team, I would like to express my gratitude to all the esteemed delegates of this webinar for their presence and contribution to make this webinar a great success. Now, we officially close the session. Thank you.